Hi, I want to say a few words before we start in on our final paper, the proposal paper, which I actually like to call the policy paper. It's called the proposal paper in chapter 12 of Everything's an Argument, but for our purposes, it could be a little confusing since we do proposals, so we don't want a proposal over a proposal, sounds a little redundant. The policy paper basically argues for a change to law, regulation, policy, or practice. It must be something concrete and doable. It is in response to some kind of problem. After all, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? A policy argument exists to say there ought to be a law, right? How often have you said something like that? We ought to change how we do this or do that. The school should change this. The state should change that. The federal government should do this. The military should do that. Any sort of change to law, practice, or policy. This is your essay. Now, this is the longest essay of the semester because we need that length to do this paper right. The paper is ultimately divided into three major parts. The first section of the main body is going to be called the problem section. Problems are where you detail, define, explain the existence and nature of a problem. This should sound vaguely familiar. In fact, when we wrote arguments of fact, arguments of definition, arguments of causation, we were doing exactly this. And when you write your own policy essay, you will be doing the same. How much is definition? How much is fact? How much is causation? That will depend on what you're writing about and what you find to say. But the problem section, in many ways, is the easiest section of this paper to write because you've already done this. You've already done this in your previous work. So this is a very important section though, because you have to establish the existence of a problem. The nature of that problem, you may have to define terms and ideas related to the problem, show cause and effect with the problem. But I do want to warn you, this is not just a redo of the fact, definition, or causation essays. It's a brand new essay. Because the second section is the solution section. This is where you give concrete, specific, doable actions, things that can be done. You will detail these with bullet points if they are separate actions, or with steps if it requires a sequence of actions, step 1, step 2, step 3. The third section is the benefits section. This is where you show the good that will happen. The benefits section is really about the future. You're going to show that the problems that you talked about will be taken care of, will be dealt with in some manner with the solutions that you have proposed. Problems, solution, benefits. Now, this paper is longer, and so there's a good benefit to that, and that is that you can write a longer introduction. We have three parts to an introduction, right? Hook the reader to get their interest, then introduce the subject, and present a thesis. In the two-paragraph introduction, you have the luxury of spending the entire first paragraph with a hook, an anecdote or story, an example, even a hypothetical situation that can take up a full paragraph by itself. Then the second paragraph introduces the subject, focuses on that subject, narrows it, and then you present your specific thesis, the argument that you're going to make. We also still have a concession. The concession paragraph would immediately follow the introduction, and it presents opposition. What are the arguments opposed to your position? Remember, if you can't think of any arguments opposed to your position, then guess what? You don't have an argument. Okay? Then the problem section will come next. What I would like you to do in this assignment is use subtitles. So you write problems on its own line and then begin the discussion of the problems. How long that lasts is up to you. 3, 4, 5 paragraphs, what have you. Then solution subheading. The solution section should be bulleted with concrete, specific, doable courses of action. I do not want to see what I like to call feel-good statements. A feel-good statement is something that sounds really swell, but it's not feasible. For example, saying parents should spend more quality time with their children is not realistic. You're going to pass a law? How are you going to do that? That's not realistic. Okay? Don't say people should get rid of their cell phones. That's not realistic. It needs to be concrete, specific, doable actions. And it needs to be feasible. No pie in the sky stuff, okay? So for example, saying that every student in America should have their own personal tutor sounds really great until you actually think about what that would cost, what that would involve, if you could even find that many good tutors. It's impossible. Don't go there. No pie in the sky. Okay, so no feel goods, no pie in the sky stuff. Concrete, specific, doable actions. I do have good news for you on this though. After all, I don't expect you to come up with a solution to world hunger all on your own. In your research, when you talk about problems, you're going to find other people have thought about these and they have maybe some solutions of their own. Read them, use them. Of course, document that. But I don't expect you, as I said, to come up with totally brand new ideas. If you do, swell, that's great. But not necessary, okay? Just as long as you document where you got your ideas from. The third section, as I said before, is the benefits. I like to think of the benefits as roughly paralleling what you talked about in the problem section. If you talked about a series of problems, that series of problems needs to be addressed in the benefits section. The biggest mistake a lot of students make is they tend to assume just because you presented the solution, your work is now done. Now, this third step, the benefit step, is very important to writing a successful policy argument. Then, of course, we'll have a regular conclusion, which you restate the thesis, look at the big picture, maybe prediction for the future, and provide a clincher. It's a really good assignment in the sense that it's practical in some ways, very helpful. It's demanding, no doubt. Look forward to seeing what you can do.